Hello everyone, I am super excited today. I'm sure you can tell we are going to Brighton Beach and we're gonna have fish and chips for lunch. In it. Uh-oh, my attempt at pulling off a British accent has failed woefully. I'm sure you can see that. On a more serious note, today for our cultural diversity in food series, we're going to be featuring Britain. Britain is a very lovely country, and one of my favorite places to go to in Britain is the beach. And seriously guys, you can't go to the beach without having fish and chips. Anyway, because of the whole social distancing thing, although the weather has been good, it's been really sunny this past few days, we can't do that. So to remind myself of the good old days, I have made a fish and chips cake. So if you want me to show you how I made the fish and chips cake, just keep watching and I hope you enjoy the video. Also, don't forget to comment, to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so that you won't miss out on any of my videos. So I'll just go straight to the cake. To start this cake, I've got a leftover cake from my last cake project. So I've placed this on parchment paper and I'm just starting to carve it. I'm going to carve it into the shape of a fish. Guys, you can print a photo of a fish and chips dinner off the internet and use it as a guide while you're carving the cake. As you can see, I'm just trying to carve it into a kind of triangular shape. While I'm doing this, I'm also trying to round off the top edges and also the bottom edges of the shape. Here I'm just taking off the brown bits off the top of the cake. When you're finished carving the cake and it looks something like this, we can move on to the next step. I've laid a parchment paper on my surface and then I'm going to put some buttercream on this paper. Then I'll transfer the already carved cake onto this parchment paper. I'm also going to stick the two pieces of cake using buttercream. Then I'll start applying the first coat of buttercream on the cake. After applying this first coat of buttercream, I would put the cake in the fridge for the buttercream to set for about 20 minutes. When I get the cake out of the fridge, I'll apply a second coat of buttercream. And then I'll start attaching some cornflakes to the surface. This is just to give the cake some texture. You know how the body of a battered fish is a bit rough. So this is going to give it that effect. Now I'm just rubbing some buttercream on the edges of the cornflakes just to soften them a bit so that they don't tear our fondant when we apply it. I'm going to put this in the fridge again for about 20 minutes. While the cake is in the fridge, I'm going to color some fondant. So I'm using Sugar Flares gel food coloring in egg yellow stroke cream. As you can see, I've also got some corn flour on my surface. This is just to prevent the fondant from sticking to the surface. Now I'm going to start kneading the color in. Next, I'm adding Sugar Flares gel food coloring in chestnut brown. And then kneading this color in as well. After doing that, I'll now mix in some white colored fondant into the already colored one. Next, I'll put some corn flour on my surface. Then using a rolling pin, I'll start rolling out the fondant. After rolling the fondant out, I'll then roll it onto my rolling pin and then get the cake from the fridge. I'll then cover the cake with the fondant. As you can see, I'm trying to tuck the fondant under the cake. Now I'm using an X-Acto knife to trim the excess fondant. I used the pizza cutter to trim the remaining fondant because I needed something that would not pull out the fondant. So guys, you know how when you buy fish and chips, they put it in a paper? I needed to create something like that for this cake. So for that, I'm using edible wafer paper. I'm just spreading them out on a plate. Then I'm going to use some vodka to saturate this wafer paper using a soft brush to give it that crumpled look that you see with the paper used to put fish and chips. To avoid poking holes in my wafer paper, I'm just dabbing the vodka onto the paper. After working on the paper, I will then put it in the fridge for about an hour to dry. Next, using the cake leftover from carving out the fish, I'm going to carve out a base for the chips. The shape I'll be carving out is sort of like a half moon shape. After carving the cake, I'll coat it with buttercream. After this, I'll put it in the fridge while I roll out some fondant. The fondant I'm rolling out is the leftover I got from rolling out the fondant for the fish. So I'm just rolling this out. When I'm done rolling the fondant, I'll roll it onto my rolling pin and get the cake from the fridge. And then cover it, drape it over the cake. Next, I'll be trimming the excess fondant using an X-Acto blade. And then I'll be tucking the edges of the fondant underneath the cake. And when everything is properly tucked in, I'll be transferring the cake onto the plate which I've already covered with the edible wafer paper. I'm also transferring the fish onto the plate as well. I'm now going to paint the fish using some vodka and the Sugar Flares gel color in egg yellow stroke cream. Next, I'm just dabbing in some brown color just to darken it a bit. To further darken the fish, I'm just using a blowtorch to burn it at the edges, especially at the tail region. The next thing I'll be doing will be to make the chips. So to do this, I've got some cream colored fondant left over from covering the cake. So I'm just going to knead in some xylose powder to help harden the fondant. Then I'll roll out the fondant on a piece of baking parchment. I'll be rolling this fondant out to a thickness of approximately 1 to 1.5 cm. Then I'll be using a knife to cut the fondant to the shape and size of chunky chips. Next, to slightly darken the chips and give it that fried look, I'm using a blowtorch just to burn it a bit. I had to move the chips to a plain board because the fire was burning the parchment paper. After preparing the chips, I brought the cake over and then I arranged the chips on the plate. After arranging the chips on the plate, I went on to prepare the pots for the tartar sauce and the ketchup. So to do this, I rolled out some fondant and then cut out 2 circles using a circular cutter. Then I placed the circles on parchment paper and set it aside. Then I rolled out some more fondant and then cut out panels long enough to go around each circle. Next, using some shortening, I'm going to attach the panels to the circles. Like so. Then using an X-Acto blade, I'm going to cut out the excess fondant. I'm now just trying to smoothen and seal the 2 edges together. I'm not going to worry too much about the seams because the way I'm going to place it on the cake, it will be hardly visible. Next, I'll make the second pot and then set both of them aside while I make the ketchup and the tartar sauce. To make the ketchup in a small bowl, I mixed in 1 tablespoon milk powder, 1 tablespoon granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon corn flour and 1.5 tablespoons of water. I mixed everything up. Then added some red and also some yellow gel food coloring. To tone down the brightness, I also added a bit of brown food coloring as well. I then microwaved the mixture at 15 seconds interval until it thickened. So for mine, I did it for a total of 1 minute and 15 seconds. I followed the same process for the tartar sauce, only this time I omitted the food coloring and left it plain. To complete the tartar sauce, I painted a piece of edible wafer paper green, and then when it had dried, I cut it into bits into the sauce. Next, I put the tartar sauce and the ketchup into individual plastic bags, and then I piped them into the pots which I prepared earlier. I'll now place the ketchup and the tartar sauce on the plate along with the fish and chips, and then make some peas for the cake using some already colored green fondant. And there you have it, guys, the finished fish and chips cake. So that's the cake, guys. I'm going to cut it now. I wish you were here to join me and know how delicious this is. It's really nice. One pea made it into my plate. Tasty. I'm gonna have some of the chips. Dip it in my ketchup. some tartar sauce. Thank you guys for stopping by once again and for joining me on my channel. We have now come to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you try it. You try the cake. The next country I'm going to feature on the Cultural Diversity in Food series is China. So I hope you stop by then. But until then, keep well and stay safe, guys. Bye.